In Dragon Ball Z Resurrection F, the galactic tyrant Frieza was resurrected by his men, and once awakened, he immediately sought revenge upon his mortal enemy Goku. Unfortunately for him, by this point in the story, Frieza had long since been surpassed, and Goku had risen to a godly level of power. However, Frieza had a plan, to train for 4 months to unleash his full potential, and this worked better than anyone expected, as it allowed Frieza to overpower even a Super Saiyan Blue Goku. However, since this movie came out, a big question among fans has been, what if another villainous fighter trained for 4 months just as Frieza had? And what if that fighter had Frieza's DNA? What if Cell trained for 4 months? Well, in this video, we're going to discuss that. Make sure to subscribe to this channel and enable notifications so you can see all of my content right away when it comes out. So joining me today is my resident Cell expert who has joined me on my channel, and his name is...
Alrighty guys, it is Dragon Ball Nation here today. How's it going?
Wow, your intro almost sounded like somebody very different, but...
I don't want to throw people off.
Yeah, so Josh, this is something we have been asked so many times since Resurrection F first came out in theaters and then continued into Dragon Ball Super, and it's become especially relevant again now with the Tournament of Power and Frieza being brought back from the dead. And that question is, what if Cell trained for 4 months, and do you think that Cell would be able to reach this upper echelon of power that Frieza did when he himself trained? You know, obviously Frieza went from Namek level to being stronger than Super Saiyan Blue Goku and likely Vegeta. So what do you think about Cell's potential for growth in terms of his power?
You know, I think Cell has a lot of potential just for being a being that hasn't really been shown to train at all, obviously, and has a very natural power, even in his first form after I was getting out of his cocoon and stuff.
Yeah.
He did in fact have to absorb humans. He later obviously absorbed 17 and 18 to get his perfect form, but even that, it's still, you know, a baseline power really. You know, he didn't train for that, and he also wouldn't really be absorbing more powerful beings at that point anyways, because it would be like adding flies to him essentially. But you know, if Cell trained, if we're going off the same notion as Frieza here, where Frieza, you know, trained for 4 months and got, you know, obviously like you said, Super Saiyan Blue level, and the same really goes for Android 17 over the course of what was it, about a decade or so, you know.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna get the exact number right, but there's a couple of examples of people that don't train, they start training and then they get super powerful in a short amount of time. And I feel like that would be true for most beings, honestly. I don't see why that would really be any different for Cell. Not only that, you know, if it is something where Frieza's DNA, his bloodline makes him such a prodigy and, you know, it's just in his biology, really.
Yeah.
Cell has some of that DNA in him, obviously. Now, do I think he's gonna get a golden form, you know? I don't really think Cell would necessarily transform, especially for the fact that he already thinks he's the perfect being. But I do see him being the type of person that would want to train. And it is video games, but you know, a couple of the games have done things where Cell has trained. I think even in Dragon Ball FighterZ, there's like some offhand dialogue where Cell was talking about how he had gotten stronger, had done training. But it does feel pretty authentic, which is one thing I like about Fighters a lot. But this isn't a Dragon Ball FighterZ video, but everyone should definitely play that game because it's got some good stuff in it. But you know, Cell, I would feel like he would have a very massive amount of potential to get stronger by training, just on the fact that he is obviously a powerful being in general, just like Frieza, never trained a day in his life, and then got super powerful. I don't know if he would get as big of a buff as Frieza or not. He might get more of one with all the DNA of all these different warriors, like the Saiyans, obviously. I think that would be a very major contributing factor. Baby Cell would go Super Saiyan 3, you know, because I don't even want to get into it, Mike. We did a whole video on it already. I don't want to talk about it.
Yeah, exactly. Now you can check that on Dragon Ball Nation, whether or not Cell was actually a Super Saiyan.
It's a pretty big theory.
But really getting into Cell and his genetic makeup, I mean, he not only has the cells of Frieza, but of Goku, of Vegeta, of, you know, various different fighters like Piccolo, so he gets not only their traits such as regeneration, the ability to use moves like the Kamehameha, but he also very possibly gains their potential along with it. So, like, if you combine the potential of Frieza, of Goku, of Piccolo, maybe not of, like, Tien, because Tien's just a jobber at this point, so Cell probably wants to stay away from those genes.
Right, but he is an intense trainer. Few people can match Tien's training, even though we don't see it. He's just nonstop at it, pretty much.
Yeah.
Just doesn't get him too far.
And Chaozu is basically his punching bag, I guess. But, so when it comes to that, I definitely think Cell has a significant amount of potential. And with that being said, you know, you mentioned how Cell may or may not be able to transform, you know, additionally.
Well, I'm not sure if he'd want to, because he already thinks he's perfect, so. But they ain't super perfect, Mike.
Well, I think it would definitely make sense if Cell would be able to actually transform, because he can regress himself to his larval state, as he had mentioned, you know, when he went back in time, he had to do that. But in addition to that, you also have the fact that, you know, Frieza at first, he was this indomitable tyrant of the universe. In his eyes, no one was as powerful as him, even though obviously retcons have shown he already knew that people were more powerful than him.
Who's Majin Buu? Beerus!
But anyway, he never believed that he should use his final form against people or really use his full power. But then, like in Resurrection F, when he comes back after he was defeated, after coming back as Mecha Frieza, he was like, well, I guess I need to train, you know, and then he achieves a further evolution or form of Golden Frieza. So I could see, even though Cell, you know, views himself as superior to the other Saiyans and everything,
right,
I could see him possibly wanting to get a further evolution. But whether or not...
It's all about how did Frieza's evolution even come to be, you know? Was it something that he's like, you know, I want to transform again, or he actually, you know, it came upon him, he transformed, and I don't know how it all worked, you know? Like, did he seek out another form, or is it something that was laid down on him when he was training hard, you know, Mike? Like a Super Saiyan transformation, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, he picked the color gold, so what the hell was it? I guess if he picked the color gold, he was seeking out a transformation, I suppose, that would further himself, like, you know, he says further evolution. So I guess in theory, Cell would probably, you know, if we're on that kind of angle here with the whole Frieza DNA, Cell would have to seek out a more perfect form, I suppose, instead of it being something that just happens to him.
Yeah.
And Cell has Kaioken too, we've talked about that. He probably has Kaioken, since he can do the Spirit Bomb, he says.
It would make sense. And imagine if Cell gets like a blue God Key form, you know, and what, would he be able to use Kaioken on top of it too, just like
After
Goku
Trunks'
did?
Super Saiyan Rage, where no one still knows what the hell it is, I mean, anything's really possible at this point. It'd be nice if they would explain what the hell that is someday, but you know, whatever.
See, the thing is, when it comes to Frieza's training, we don't really know what kind of training he did, but, you know, with Cell, if he doesn't have all the same information that the Z Fighters he's made up of does, he likely has a lot of information given him by Gero. So, do you think that Cell would even know about training methods such as the Hyperbolic Time Chamber, or perhaps, you know, another means of training that other characters have used in the past?
I think so, because, you know, he's gonna have the DNA of Goku.
Yeah.
And I'm sure, you know, obviously with Gero's bots flying around here, I'm sure there is some knowledge of the Time Chamber. I feel like there'd have to be. I mean, that would have been after the Red Ribbon Army.
He has cells from King Piccolo too, if I remember correctly, because remember, when he first encounters Piccolo, he's like, oh, you are the Demon King Piccolo. So, you know, if Demon King Piccolo knew of the Hyperbolic Time Chamber, then it's very possible that he would too.
Right. Well, what I'm going at here, Mike, is that if, you know, Goku was being watched, you know, for so long, I don't see it unlikely that his drones or whatever was watching Goku go into the Time Chamber, or had overheard some dialogue about it, you know?
Yeah, that's very true.
Whether or not it really would have been emphasized in Cell's intelligence in his brain, obviously, you know, if he would have had the information put there and it would have been, I guess, noted as an important thing, you know, it's a whole nother question, but I feel like he would know about it if he needed to use it.
Yeah.
Does Cell view himself as someone that needs to train? It's still one of those things up in the air. I feel like because of all the warrior DNA in him, he would want to train if there was, I guess, no one left to oppose him, which sounds weird. Like, why would you want to train if you were already above everyone else? But maybe Cell would still want to get stronger and stronger and stronger.
Yeah, I mean, that's what Goku does, even if Goku is the strongest.
But Cell was in the series for a while, but we still have such limited knowledge of his whole, I guess, mindset in some ways, really,
yeah,
I feel like.
And I feel like if Cell were to come back, say, now, or during the Buu Saga or something, he'd probably look around and realize that a lot of characters surpassed him by that point, so...
He'd probably still think that he's way stronger, though. Which would be due to the Vegeta cells, Frieza as well. Which is one of the coolest things about Cell, is that if you really pay attention to his dialogue, you can see all of the dominant personalities really come out in a lot of what he says, you know.
Yeah.
the want to fight like Goku. You know, he wants to fight just like Goku does all the time. He has that pride that Vegeta does, you know, maybe a bit subdued, and he has that, I guess, feeling of himself being better than everyone else, just like Frieza and Vegeta as well. So you can see a lot of those, you know, things, not necessarily stuff from Tien and Piccolo, but like I said, those dominant personalities really shine through, which I think is one of the genius things about how Cell was written.
Yeah.
And it kind of shows, you know, that he probably would want to train. I just have that feeling. And I think most people that watch this would probably agree with that.
Well, there's a lot of people too who I've always seen comment this, that for them, they probably feel like Cell would train just by repeatedly blowing himself up over and over and regenerating and getting Zenkais.
Right. I don't know if he'd do that, though. I mean, it's possible, but remember, when he self-destructed, he didn't even think he was going to survive that. And, you know, would he really want to risk that time and time again?
Yeah.
Maybe if he could control it, but I'm not so sure.
It's like the age-old question of why don't the Saiyans exploit their Zenkais? Well, it's like they have to push themselves near death to do it. Do you think they're going to want to?
And I mean, Goku did that on the way to Namek, which is something people don't really bring up, and I might do a video of that in the future in like 3 years.
There's a little difference, though, between blasting yourself and literally blowing yourself up, though, so...
Right, but Goku was in fact doing the self-injuring thing, which is a lot of people think that you just can't do, and they thought that, you know, when Cell did it, it was like a retcon almost, but it really wasn't.
It was more like just a weird example of Vegeta saying, oh, I can't do it myself, but...
I think it was just weirdly written, really, is what it was.
Maybe Vegeta was just kind of a wimp and he couldn't blast himself.
And maybe in the very original Japanese version where you don't have to change any of the dialogue up at all, it sounds a little bit better. I can't read Japanese, so I don't know.
Yeah, so finally, I guess let's just say, if we're gonna give Cell like an estimate after these 4 months of training, say that he trains like the same way as Frieza, or, you know, within these confines
by beating the crap out of Togoma over and over.
Yeah, maybe this time Togoma will be beaten up by Cell.
He beats up his Cell Juniors.
Yeah, he releases Cell Juniors and he just beats them up over and over and gets stronger that way.
And they get stronger, Mike.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Oh no.
Mike, what if a Cell Junior survived?
You can check that out on my channel. But anyway, if we're going to give him a final number, like a final rank of power after these 4 months.
A power level?
Yeah. Not an actual number, though, but an actual rank or like a range. Where would you put Cell after 4 months?
It's so hard because it's like, would he get as big of a boost as Frieza or not? The thing is Frieza's boost specific to him? Is he just that much of a prodigy?
Yeah.
That no one else would really be, you know, because even Android 17, you know, even though he's beaten up freaking posters for 10 years, people with power level like 5 and 6,
yeah.
basically. He gets Super Saiyan Blue Goku level, you know. It depends on where you think Cell's potential is. Do you think he has more than Frieza, the same amount, or less? So, Mike, we can do it like this. Cell would either be Super Saiyan Blue Goku level,
yeah,
below Super Saiyan Blue Goku level, or way above it. It's very hard for me to pinpoint it. I know that's not the answer people want to hear, really, but for me, there's not enough there to really, for me to feel comfortable giving an exact estimate. I feel like, because of how strong Cell is, that he would be that godly level, but I just don't know. But that's my gut feeling, is that he probably would get up there, but, you know, he might not. He might not get that much stronger from training. Who knows? Because maybe the fact that he absorbed humans might have a factor, and it might, I guess, diminish the return on what he gets from training, but I don't really know.
I mean, for me, I'm just gonna assume that Cell somehow inherited, like, potential, you know, like, he's supposed to be the perfect organism that basically has, like, all the powers of these fighters, so I feel like he at least has potential, you know, on par with Frieza, so if we want to say that he'll get the same level of boost that Frieza did, you know, Cell already started out way more powerful than Frieza as his regular perfect, so...
Be immensely powerful if we're going by percentage.
Yeah, I mean, he would definitely be one of the most powerful fighters in the Tournament of Power, like if he were to show up and, having trained for 4 months.
Super Perfect Cell was already like over 10 times stronger than Frieza.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if we're gonna give him the same boost, just imagine Golden Frieza and Resurrection F, but 10 times stronger. Maybe that would be a good range. You know, he would be immensely powerful.
Yeah, even higher than that, depending upon how strong you play Cell.
It's just hard to pinpoint. He might have more potential with all the different warriors in him.
Exactly.
Just how it is.
Yeah, so now it comes time for you guys to tell us what you think would happen if Cell trained for 4 months. Let us know down below in the comments section. Check out Dragon Ball Nation in the end screen and description. And if you like this content, make sure to stick around, because there's a lot more to come in the future.
And you better subscribe!